Your obsession with belonging is killing your purpose. That need to fit in, to be understood, to have others validate your direction. It's the invisible prison cell keeping you trapped in mediocrity. Society celebrates teams, collaborations, and communities while quietly burying the uncomfortable truth. Every significant innovation began with someone willing to stand alone against prevailing wisdom. Your peers aren't equipped to understand your vision because true vision always sees what doesn't yet exist. Your friends can't validate your purpose because purpose isn't determined by popular vote. Your family can't authorize your calling because they're viewing your future through the lens of their past. The crowd will always pull you toward average because average feels safe. Average doesn't disrupt. Average doesn't challenge. Average doesn't require courage. But average also never changes anything that matters. The most powerful person in the room is not the loudest one speaking, but the one who has decided to walk a path others fear to tread. Success has never been achieved by committee. It has always been birthed in the heart of an individual who saw what others couldn't see. I want to talk to you today about something that may make you uncomfortable. Something that goes against our natural desires as humans. The truth that sometimes, actually quite often, success means walking alone. When you look at history's greatest achievers, you'll notice they all shared one common experience at crucial moments. They stood alone with their convictions. Their vision required them to separate from the crowd, not because they didn't value others, but because true vision always sees beyond what everyone else can see. I grew up in a neighborhood where following the crowd was considered safe. Everyone expected you to play by certain rules, go to school, get an average job, live an average life. But one day, I found myself standing at a crossroads. Continue down the familiar path with everyone else, or take that unmarked trail that called to something deep within me. The moment I stepped onto that solitary path, I faced immediate resistance. Who do you think you are? That's not how things are done. You're being unrealistic, but here's what I learned. Every extraordinary accomplishment began with someone who was willing to stand alone. Think about the difference between a thermometer and a thermostat. A thermometer simply reflects the temperature in a room. Most people live like thermometers. They adapt to the environment around them. But a thermostat sets the temperature. It doesn't ask permission from the room. It changes the environment to match its setting. Success requires you to be a thermostat, not a thermometer. Many of you sitting here right now feel that tension. You have ideas that nobody around you understands. You see possibilities that make others uncomfortable. You dream of creating something new, but you fear walking that path alone. I'm here to tell you that your discomfort is actually a compass pointing you toward your true purpose. I met a young woman named Amara 3 years ago. She grew up in a small town where everyone followed a predictable path. Her family had been farmers for generations. When she announced she wanted to start a technology company that would revolutionize agricultural practices, her entire community laughed. Her parents worried she was throwing her life away. Her friends distanced themselves. Uncomfortable with her ambition for 2 years, Amara worked alone in a tiny apartment, developing her software, testing her ideas, failing repeatedly. Many nights she cried herself to sleep, wondering if everyone else was right. Was she just being foolish, stubborn, arrogant? But Amara understood something fundamental about success. The crowd is almost always looking backward, not forward. They make judgments based on what has been, not what could be today. Her agricultural technology platform supports over 10 farms across 3 continents. The same community that once ridiculed her now celebrates her as a hometown hero. But Amara tells me the most important lesson she learned wasn't about technology or business. It was about the courage to walk alone when your vision demands it. The real power of solitary vision isn't found in being different for its own sake. It's about recognizing that transformation always begins with separation. You cannot become what you're destined to be while remaining where you don't belong. Most people misunderstand the relationship between popularity and success. They believe that success will make them popular. But the opposite is often true. The pursuit of true success frequently requires you to become unpopular first. It demands that you challenge assumptions, question traditions, and disrupt comfortable patterns. These actions rarely win popularity contests when you stand before the crowd with a new idea, a different approach, or a challenging truth. You must be prepared for resistance. This resistance isn't personal. It's actually perfectly natural. Humans are wired to protect the status quo because it feels safe. Your new idea represents uncertainty. And uncertainty triggers fear. But here's the paradox. The same people who initially resist your vision are often the ones who will later benefit from it most. Every innovation that has improved human life was first rejected by those it was designed to help. The path to significance is narrow, and few find it because few are willing to walk it alone. The crowd always takes the wide road because it's easier, more familiar, and you have plenty of company. But that road leads to only one destination. Average results, average impact, average life. Is that really what you want? To look back on your life and realize you never really lived it? You just followed someone else's directions? I'm not suggesting you should reject community or collaboration. In fact, the ultimate goal is to build something so compelling that others will eventually join you. But that comes later. First, you must be willing to stand alone with your conviction. True leadership doesn't begin with followers. It begins with the courage to move in a direction regardless of whether anyone follows initially. Your first responsibility is to clarify your own vision so completely that external validation becomes unnecessary. When people say, I need others to believe in me, what they're really saying is that they don't fully believe in themselves yet. The moment your belief in your vision becomes unshakable, you no longer require others to validate it. This is the great secret of those who have transformed our world. They didn't start with universal approval. They started with personal conviction so powerful that they were willing to walk alone until their vision became reality. Right now, in this very moment, you may be facing that decision point. Will you continue along the crowded path that leads to predictable outcomes? Or will you summon the courage to step away from the crowd and pursue the vision that burns within you, even if it means walking alone for a season? The most dangerous place you can be is comfortable in a crowd heading in the wrong direction. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for others is to leave the crowd behind and create a new path they can eventually follow. The world doesn't need more followers. The world needs more individuals with the courage to pursue their unique vision, even when that pursuit requires them to stand alone. Because the truth is sometimes, actually most times, success means walking alone. Now, I want to speak to you about something most motivational speakers won't tell you. The path to extraordinary success is not one of constant affirmation and support. It is a path marked by seasons of profound isolation. This isolation isn't punishment. It's preparation. When you decide to pursue excellence, you will immediately notice something strange happening around you. People who once supported you begin to distance themselves. Ideas that excite you make others uncomfortable. Your enthusiasm becomes threatening to those committed to mediocrity. What's happening? You're experiencing the natural resistance that always accompanies new vision. I want you to understand this fundamental truth. Every new idea disrupts established patterns. And humans are creatures of pattern. We crave stability, predictability, and safety. Your new direction challenges all three. So the resistance you face isn't personal. It's primal. Vision, by its very nature, sees what others cannot yet see. When you operate from vision, you're living in a reality that exists only in the future. Others are living in the reality of the present, or worse, the patterns of the past. This creates an inevitable gap in understanding. I remember meeting a man named Kwame who had developed a revolutionary approach to education in rural communities. His methods completely contradicted traditional teaching approaches. When he first presented his ideas to education officials, they not only rejected them, they ridiculed him. This isn't how education works, they told him. You have no experience in this field. For 3 years, Kwame refined his methods alone, piloting his program in a single village with his own resources. He faced criticism, mockery, and isolation. Former colleagues avoided him. Family members questioned his sanity. He spent countless evenings wondering if he should abandon his vision and return to the comfort of conformity. But Kwame understood something crucial about the relationship between vision and isolation. He told me, I realized my loneliness wasn't a sign that I was wrong. It was confirmation that I was truly pioneering something new. This is what separates true visionaries from dreamers. Dreamers abandon their vision when it costs them relationships. Visionaries understand that temporary isolation is the price of unprecedented impact. There's a profound difference between loneliness and purposeful solitude. Loneliness is an emotional pain that comes from feeling disconnected. Purposeful solitude is a strategic position you occupy while developing something new. One depletes you, the other develops you. During your season of walking alone, you aren't actually alone. You're in the company of your vision. You're cultivating a relationship with the future you're creating. This intimate connection with purpose provides a fulfillment deeper than superficial social acceptance ever could. The greatest test of your conviction will come when no one else believes, when no external voice confirms your direction, when you must stand firmly on nothing but your own internal conviction. This is where most potential visionaries falter. They mistake the absence of external support for evidence they're on the wrong path. But history teaches us the opposite lesson. Truly transformative ideas rarely receive initial support. Every innovation you now take for granted was once considered impossible, impractical, or insane by the majority. The telephone, the airplane, personal computers. Even the simple idea that humans should have equal rights, regardless of their background. All these concepts required someone to stand alone against the prevailing wisdom of their time. Your willingness to walk alone is not a measure of your social skills. It's a measure of your conviction. It reveals how deeply you believe in what you're building. I need to be very clear. I'm not advocating for permanent isolation or encouraging arrogance. I'm speaking about a necessary season in the development of every significant vision. Many of you right now are standing at the crossroads I described. You have glimpsed a possibility that excites you. You've felt that stirring of purpose. But as you've begun moving toward it, you've experienced unexpected resistance, often from those closest to you. This resistance has made you question yourself. Am I wrong? Am I being unrealistic? Should I just settle for what everyone else accepts? I want to give you permission to trust your vision, even when you stand completely alone. Your willingness to walk that solitary path isn't stubbornness or pride. It's the courage required for creation. Think about it. Every birth begins in the hidden place. Seeds germinate in darkness. The most profound transformations happen in isolation before they're revealed to the world. Your season of walking alone is not a detour from success. It's the direct path to it. This isolation is refining you. It's removing your dependence on external validation. It's forcing you to clarify your vision until it becomes unshakable within you. When you can stand firmly in your purpose without the crutch of constant affirmation, you develop a rare form of strength, the strength that comes from self-pitiness. Those who require constant approval remain slaves to public opinion. But those who learn to validate themselves from within gain an unshakable foundation that no criticism can topple. So if you find yourself walking alone today, don't despair. Don't interpret your isolation as failure. Recognize it as confirmation that you're on the path less traveled, the only path that leads to extraordinary outcomes. The true battlefield of success is not external circumstances, but the territory of your own mind. When you walk the solitary path toward your vision, your greatest challenge becomes maintaining mental and emotional strength without the support systems most people rely on. I want to show you how to build unshakable inner strength during these solo moments. This is what separates those who merely dream from those who transform dreams into reality. First, you must develop the art of self-belief that doesn't require external confirmation. Most people think belief comes after proof. They're wrong. True belief precedes evidence. It creates the conditions for proof to appear. When I was developing my own vision years ago, I faced constant skepticism. People would ask, where's your evidence this will work? But if evidence already existed, it wouldn't be a new vision. Innovation, by definition, lacks prior proof. The ability to believe firmly in what doesn't yet exist is your most valuable asset when walking alone. This isn't blind faith or wishful thinking. It's the profound understanding that everything that exists now was once only a possibility in someone's mind. Next, you must master the ability to silence outside voices, not through avoidance, but through proper prioritization. Not all voices deserve equal weight in your life. I met a woman named May Lin who developed a revolutionary healthcare approach that combined modern medicine with traditional practices. When she first presented her methods, the medical establishment dismissed her completely. Family members begged her to pursue a normal medical career instead of arguing with critics. May Lin developed a daily ritual. Each morning, she would write down her vision in precise detail. She would read the words aloud, letting her own voice become louder than any critic. This simple practice kept her focus on possibility rather than opposition. Today, her integrated healthcare model serves thousands and has been adopted by several major hospitals. But she still practices that same morning ritual, understanding that even success requires the constant renewal of vision. When walking alone, you must also find mentors in unexpected places. Books, recordings, and historical figures can become your companions and teachers. I spent years studying the lives of innovators who faced resistance similar to mine. Their stories became a source of wisdom and encouragement when no living mentor was available. The knowledge that others had walked similar paths and succeeded gave me confirmation when no one around me could provide it. This is critical. You must create your own confirmation system when external validation is absent. Another essential practice is protecting your environment, both physical and mental. The spaces you occupy and the information you consume will either strengthen or weaken your resolve. Create a physical space that reflects and reinforces your vision. Even if it's just a small corner of your home, fill it with reminders of why you started this journey. Guard your mental environment by carefully selecting what voices you allow in through books, videos, and conversations. When others can't yet see what you see, you must become obsessive about visualizing the end result yourself. Mental rehearsal of your success creates neural pathways that make that success increasingly probable. Don't just think about your vision occasionally, live in it mentally until it becomes more real to you than your current circumstances. Many people lose momentum when walking alone because they expect constant progress. This is unrealistic. Success never follows a straight line. It moves forward, then backward, then forward again, often in cycles that test your commitment. The key to maintaining momentum isn't avoiding setbacks. It's developing a relationship with failure that differs from the norm. Most see failure as evidence they should quit. Visionaries see failure as evidence they're pushing boundaries. They extract lessons, adjust course, and continue forward when walking alone toward your vision. Remember that doubt is normal, but surrender is optional. You will question yourself. That's human. But maintaining forward motion despite those questions is what separates history makers from the forgotten. Your ability to stand alone now is directly proportional to your impact later. The strength you build in solitude becomes the foundation upon which you'll eventually build something extraordinary for many. There comes a moment in every visionary's journey when the season of walking alone transitions into something new. After the testing, after the refinement, after proving your commitment, your solitude becomes magnetic. This is one of the great paradoxes of success. The very conviction that initially separates you from others eventually attracts the right people to you. I call this the law of magnetic vision. When you hold unwaveringly to what you see, you create a force field that begins to draw those who share your values, your passion, and your commitment. Not everyone, but the right ones. The key distinction is this: when you compromise your vision to avoid walking alone, you attract people to your compromise, not your vision. But when you stand firmly in your truth, you attract people to your authenticity, which is infinitely more powerful. I want to tell you about Hassan, a man I met who had an idea for transforming urban farming in concrete jungles. For 2 years, he worked alone, converting his own small apartment balcony into a vertical garden that produced an astonishing amount of food. Neighbors thought he was eccentric. Family members worried he was wasting his time. But Hassan remained focused on perfecting his system rather than convincing skeptics. Then something shifted. As his results became undeniable, people began asking questions. First, one neighbor requested help setting up their own system, then another. Soon, building managers from across the city were contacting him, Hassan told me. The turning point wasn't when I finally convinced people. It was when I stopped trying to convince them and instead focused completely on results. The results did what my words never could. This is crucial for you to understand. Your job isn't to convince the world of your vision. Your job is to manifest your vision so completely that it becomes undeniable. The right people will be drawn to the reality you create, not the promise you proclaim. When your season of magnetic vision begins, you must develop discernment about who to welcome into your purpose. Not everyone who expresses interest shares your values. Not everyone who offers help understands your vision. The quality of people you attract will be directly proportional to the clarity and strength of your vision. Weak vision attracts opportunists. Strong vision attracts collaborators. How do you recognize the right people when they appear? They don't require you to water down your vision to accommodate their comfort. They bring their own strength rather than depending on yours. They ask questions that expand your thinking rather than contract it. The right people don't just believe in your vision, they add to it. They see aspects you couldn't see. They bring resources you didn't have. They transform your solo mission into a movement without diluting its essence. When Rosa started her alternative education program, She worked alone for years, refining her methods with just a handful of students. The educational establishment rejected her ideas completely. But as her students began achieving remarkable results, teachers started approaching her privately. These weren't just any teachers, they were innovators themselves, constrained by systems that didn't value their creativity. They recognized in Rosa's vision the freedom they'd been seeking. Today, her methods have spread to over 40 schools, not because she compromised to gain acceptance, but because she refused to compromise until the right partners found her. Your willingness to walk alone isn't just about personal conviction. It's about creating something pure enough, true enough, and powerful enough to eventually draw others who share your value. The season of walking alone isn't meant to be permanent. It's meant to be purifying. It's the crucible that burns away your need for approval, your fear of rejection, and your attachment to methods that don't serve your vision. When you emerge from this crucible, you become a lighthouse that naturally draws the ships searching for your particular harbor. The most profound lesson I've learned about success is this: those who wait for permission rarely make history. The ultimate freedom, the freedom that unlocks all others, is the freedom of self-authorization. Most people are waiting for someone to tell them they're ready, waiting for credentials to validate their knowledge, waiting for experts to approve their ideas, waiting for leaders to recognize their potential. But this waiting becomes a prison of its own making. I want to tell you about Aisha, a woman whose story changed how I understand the power of self-authorization. I met her 5 years ago in a small coastal town where generations had made their living from the sea. But pollution and overfishing had devastated their way of life. The Aisha had no formal education beyond high school, no environmental credentials, no political connections. What she had was a vision for restoring the coastal ecosystem through an innovative approach to reef restoration and sustainable fishing. When she first shared her ideas with local officials, they dismissed her immediately. "Where's your degree in marine biology?" they asked. "What authority do you have to propose such changes?" The community wasn't much more supportive. "That's not how things are done here," they told her. "Who authorized you to challenge generations of tradition?" This is where most people stop. They accept the narrative that authority must be given from outside. They surrender their vision to the gatekeepers of the status quo. But Aisha understood something fundamental about true authority. It comes from purpose, not permission. She didn't argue with the officials or try to convince her neighbors. Instead, she simply began. With her own hands and her own resources, she started restoring a small section of damaged reef near the shore. Every morning before sunrise, she would wade into the water and work for hours. People watched from the shore, some amused, some concerned, most simply dismissive. For months, she worked alone. No committee approved her methods. No organization funded her efforts. No expert validated her approach. The hardest part wasn't the physical work, she told me later. It was silencing the voice in my head that kept asking, "Who do you think you are?" every morning. I had to answer that question by showing up anyway. After 8 months, something remarkable happened. Fish began returning to her restored section of reef, small at first, then in growing numbers. The contrast between her section and the surrounding areas became impossible to ignore. A few curious fishermen began asking questions, not the officials or community leaders, just ordinary people looking for solutions. Aisha freely shared everything she had learned. Soon, a handful of others began applying her methods to other sections of the reef. Still, no formal recognition came. No officials acknowledged her success, but the results spoke with an authority no credential could match. 2 years into her solitary journey, a marine biologist from a prestigious university happened to visit the area. When he saw the remarkable recovery in specific sections of the reef, he began asking questions. Locals pointed to Aisha after studying her methods. The biologist was astonished. You've developed techniques it would have taken us years to discover through traditional research, he told her. How did you do this without formal training? Her answer reveals everything about self-authorization. I didn't know I couldn't do it today. Aisha's reef restoration methods have been adopted in coastal communities across 3 continents. She now leads workshops attended by the same officials who once dismissed her. Universities study her approach, but she never waited for their authorization to begin. This is the ultimate freedom I want you to claim today. The freedom to authorize yourself. Stop waiting for someone to discover your potential. Stop waiting for institutions to validate your ideas. Stop waiting for the crowd to approve your direction. The most powerful authorization comes from within. From that place where purpose and conviction meet. When you authorize yourself, you step outside the boundaries others have established for your life. This self-authorization isn't arrogance. It's not ignoring wisdom or rejecting legitimate authority. It's recognizing that true authority flows from purpose, not position, from results, not rhetoric, from service, not status. When you authorize yourself to pursue your vision, even when you must walk alone, you step into the company of history's greatest change makers. None of them waited for permission to challenge the status quo. None of them required external validation to begin their work. They understood that the very systems they sought to transform would never authorize their transformation. They had to operate from a deeper source of authority. What vision are you postponing until someone else authorizes you? What impact are you delaying until you receive external validation? What purpose are you neglecting while waiting for permission? The greatest tragedy isn't failing to achieve success. The greatest tragedy is never attempting the journey because you are waiting for authorization that was yours to give all along. When you free yourself from the need for external permission, you discover abilities you never knew you had. You access creativity that was blocked by your need for approval. You find courage that was smothered by your fear of rejection. Self-authorization is the master key that unlocks every door to success. It allows you to walk alone when necessary, to stand firmly in your convictions when challenged, and to persist when others abandon the journey. The world doesn't change through committees and consensus. It changes through individuals who authorize themselves to challenge what is and create what could be today. I'm not giving you permission to pursue your vision. I'm reminding you that you never needed permission in the first place. The authority to transform your life, your community, and your world has always resided within you. The moment you embrace this truth, the moment you authorize yourself to walk the path others fear to tread, you step into the freedom that makes all other freedoms possible. Sometimes success means walking alone, but those who dare to walk that solitary path eventually create new roads where many will follow. Your willingness to stand alone today may create the very path that leads thousands to a better tomorrow.